Hey, it's Mike from 424recording.com. Welcome to episode number 28 of the podcast. This is pretty wild. Closing out 2018 with the final solo pod. And in today's episode, I want to invite you to take the power back in 2019. Just as the warrior poet Zach De La Rocha said in the track, Take the Power Back, I think this year should be the year that you and I also take the power back. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Alright, well, 2018 for me was a real banner year. I mentioned that on the channel. As a big thanks to TaskFam and everybody who's been checking out the channel and the channel's growth and people into the things that are going on here and the feedback and the amazing gifts and things people have been sending, and I don't know, just all around. We had the TaskFamps. That was a huge success, and I'm looking forward to making some more, products here and there, like some books and things that I want to get out to people. And I don't know, 2019 I think is going to be a good year. So, but I think a lot of that, the reason why for me 2018 was so great was because I really took the power back in my own life after many years of struggling to make sense of the world and the things around me and the things that were going on. So I don't know. And I know I still have a long way to go. I definitely don't have all the answers, but things have been working pretty well for me, and I want to share that and kind of share what the big impetus for that was. And, so a couple big things this year for me, some things I realized, a lot of them had to do with my old job. I used to work at the post office, and that job fucking sucked, and I had to get out of there. There was a lot of reasons why. Mainly it was really bad for my mental health and also my physical health, and it was essentially a dead-end job. And I know some people may think that's a great job. There are some good things about it, but there's also some really terrible things about it, and maybe I'll get into that another time if you're interested in more about that. And maybe I'm hyperbolizing a little bit, but I don't know. There's some really bad things about it. I had to get out of there and make a huge change for my life, because I think I may not have had a life anymore if I had continued going there. So the big thing I realized is do or do not. There is no try. This is a quote from Yoda, actually. No matter how you feel about Star Wars, I think those original 3 movies in the 70s, 80s, whenever those came out, amazing films. It's a shame George Lucas destroyed his intellectual property with those prequel movies, but I think that there's a lot to be said about doing something or not doing it, and there really is no middle ground. How many times have you had somebody tell you, you ask them to come to your show, you ask them to come to your art exhibit, you ask them to come to a baseball game, you ask them to come to your kid's clarinet reception? Oh yeah, Mike, I'll try to get there. I'll try to make it. I'll try to come to your party. I'll try to come to your house later. How many times have you heard this from people? Anytime anybody says they'll try to do something for you, chances are they're not going to do it, because there is no try. There's no, I will attempt to do this. Either you're doing it or you're not going to do it. That's really the dichotomy that I think shifted in my mind into, well, either I'm going to go after something or I'm not. Either I want to go after something or I don't. There's no should there. There's no try. And I noticed this a lot at my old job. I was around a lot of people who were very stuck in their lives, very frozen where they were, very powerless to the machine of the post office and the things around them. And I remember listening to this one guy, really good dude, and one of my better friends at the post office, somebody I think that really understood who I was and always was, a pretty happy type of dude. But every day he worked on Saturdays, and every day I had to go in and work with him. He would always complain about being at the post office and how he hated it and how this was the worst job and how badly it was managed and all these things. And it's a very negative workplace and a lot of negative people and negative feelings and ideas and hurts and victimization going on, which will bring me to the next point, which is don't be a victim of your own life, but we'll get there. Okay, so that was the big thing, right? So every time I went in there, every Saturday, this guy would complain about how much he hated it, how much he didn't want to be there. And I listened to this guy say this for years, right? And I agree with him. I really didn't think it was that great of a thing. But time and time again, I would beat him out of the office pretty quickly because I never really said much unless I was spoken to. I try not to talk to too many people, just to focus on my work. It's whenever you're doing multiple things, you're giving some of that energy away to something else. It's kind of the curse of multitasking, no matter what you're doing in whatever facet of life. But the power of just staying on one course and staying at one thing, I think, is can't be beat, right? So I would consistently get out of the office and he'd always be like, "How did you get out of here so quickly? How do you always do that? You're really fast at doing this." And I guess maybe I was just inherently a little bit faster, a little bit younger than him, whatever. But the other thing was, I always just say to him, I said, well, man, like, you talk a lot. All you do is, you chat with a lot of people. You're constantly doing stuff. Like, I'm just like on my, I know what I got to do and I want to get out of here. I want to go home, man. Because it was a type of job, you do your work, whether you do it in 8 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, you get to go home and you get paid the same. So the incentive is just get the shit done, bang it out, and get the fuck out of there and go home and do whatever you want. And that was one of the good things about it, right? You kind of were managed by yourself. But my big point with this whole gentleman and his complaints and listening to him for years is I got to a point, and this was a few weeks before, actually we both wound up quitting. I said to him, Tom, like, whether you complain or not, it doesn't change the fact that you have to do this job. There's two options really, right? For all of us here. Either you can do this job and do it and get the fuck out of here, or you can not do it and just leave, just walk out if you don't want to do this. With all these complaints and like, trying to either change or like this powerless, speaking out into the void of like, this job sucks, I want to get out of here, I hate this job. Like, well, there's your options, man. Like, either do it or don't. Like, just complaining about it doesn't change the fact that you have to do it or you don't have to do it, Those are the two options. There's no in between. Like, either just do the job or quit and get the fuck out of here. And that's kind of when I realized after I had this, after I said this to him, because I had never said anything like this to him, and I think some people may have found it a little bit aggressive or something, but I guess it was really the moment I realized that for myself too. As much as I hated it, I would always complain about it. I'd be grumpy about it. I would, think about all the things I hated about the job, and I just finally was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And I had this amazing realization. I was like, I need to make a really big change in my life, because otherwise, I'm staring down the barrel of, 30, 40 years doing this. And I don't know. I'll get into that maybe some other time. But, that was really the realization, right? All these people around me complaining about how powerless they were to, and how they had to go to this job and do this stuff and how much it sucked and all this shit. And it was like, look, this is the element of the trying. Like, there's no try here. Like, either do the job or don't. Why are you going to waste your energy talking about it, complaining about it? If you just buckle down and do it and don't think about it and get the fuck out of here, more power to you. But or you can just leave right now, just walk out. Those are the options. Like, sitting there complaining about it, it's not doing anything for you. So, I don't know. In 2019, much like for me in 2018, I really took the power back, and I really want to invite you to take the power back in any aspect of your life that you feel is, if you find there's something you're complaining about, I think you should really try to examine that and see why, because complaining and being a victim about it and not taking responsibility for what's happening in your life, that's something, I mean, there's a lot of wrapped up feelings in this for me, but the big realization was that, like, there's no in between with certain elements of your life, and you can either do them or not. And if you don't want to do them, then don't fucking do them. Like, that's the end of the story. And if you find yourself in a situation where you have to do it, get it done. Take all that energy that you would spend complaining about it and put it into just getting it done, because those are the two options. Anything else in between is just a waste of your time, waste of your energy, waste of your mental acumen, a waste of everybody's time, including your own. And it's just energy that you're not going to get back. It's time that you're not going to get back complaining about something and not making a change about it. So I don't know. For me, that was my big victory in 2018. I quit my job. I think it was in January, so it was after the big holiday season. So I'm almost a year out, and I gotta say, in like every aspect of my life, has pretty much improved as a result of making this change. And I don't know. Maybe there's something in your life. Maybe it's not as serious of a thing, but think about it and see where you can kind of, like I said, take the power back. I know I keep saying that, and it kind of is losing meaning, but you got to take the power back from being. Just don't be a victim of your own life. I guess that's what I'm really getting at. Because for a while I wasn't taking responsibility for, who I was and what I was doing. Because it was easier to take this path of least resistance, as much as I hated it, as much as I would complain about it, as much as I hear other people complain about it, as much as I knew it was this negative situation that was grating on me mentally and physically. It was just easier not to take responsibility and just say, well, this is the way the world is. You need to have this job, to do these things, to do this. But really what it was come down to, I just wasn't taking responsibility. Like any day I could have, I walked out of there and, tried something else, tried to get another job, went back to school, got a job working at, some other big box store, tried to get a job working someplace else. Like those are things I could have done if I really had wanted to get out of there. And I regret not leaving that job, like 4 years ago, even sooner than I did. And that's just something that happens, I guess, with people. That's something I learned. It's what got me to where I am now. So a big part of it too is feeling stuck in life, and feeling stuck in somewhere where you are. You've given up the power of your life. You feel powerless, right? It's like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I can't do anything because X, Y, Z. I'm just stuck here. This is a dead end. Like, what can I do? And you've basically just given the power away to the external world. And that's something also in this year I learned is this internal external struggle. It's all internal. It all comes down to your internal thoughts and actions, and everything else external is just a distraction from that. And if you allow the external world to have power over your internal world, or you just allow the external world to have all the power, you're going to be a really unhappy person, and you're not going to be doing things that you want to be doing, because it all comes down to you taking responsibility and taking the power back to your internal, thoughts and actions. Otherwise, everything else is you're just allowing the world to ride you rather than you ride it, if that makes sense. But obviously, like, I just noticed that there's a lot of people, myself included. I noticed a lot of people lately, especially, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just the time of year or something, but a lot of people seem to like playing the victim, and I think that's something I kind of did too for a bit. I don't know if I was ever really felt that victimized by people. I think it was just more of a naivete about life, and I've really kind of woken up to how to get the things that you want now out of life. But because I noticed that, like, sometimes I used to have grudges with people, and I just realized, like, that shit is just toxic. Like, it really comes down to just letting go of that shit. Because when you hold these grudges, this is all this power struggle, this internal external shit. It's like, if you have like holding a grudge against people, and trust me, like I there's probably some things I should still let go with certain people in the past and things, and I think I've kind of come to a healthy place with a lot of that stuff. But when you hold on to these grudges with people, again, you're giving the power in whatever situation you're holding this grudge to that person. So by letting go of it, you're taking that power back. You're releasing the power that you've given to this person to, rain on your day, or make you feel like shit, or, whatever the situation is that you're holding this grudge. Like, they cut you off, in traffic or something. Like, if you get pissed, like, you're just giving that person all the power. But, again, you can only control your thoughts and actions. You can't control what somebody else is going to do. So why are you going to, affect your own life by giving some random person, or maybe some not so random person, the power to decide how you're going to feel? Like, fuck that. Like, you're the one that decides that. And don't give power to people who don't deserve it. Like, this is really what it comes down to. You got to take the power back. Like I said, the warrior poet Zach De La Rocha, brilliant man. And I know that is more in reference to political types of power, but I think if we don't make ourselves the best people that we can be, and any attempt to make the world a better place is not going to come to fruition. So it really starts inside before you can help to make any sort of external change. Another thing, so this is all kind of like goes along with this idea of being a victim. Don't be a victim in 2019. Don't be a victim of your own life, your own circumstances. I did that for many years, and I'm happy to say I've really come out of it this year, and I want to thank each and every one of you guys who's listening to this for being there and witnessing the journey, and helping me along in the journey, and checking out the stuff I've been doing, and yeah, it's been a really sick year. So where are we at? Okay, it's about 17 minutes in. I want to talk about a couple other things with the victim stuff. Some of the important points. I don't know. Maybe this is not something that makes sense to you. Maybe you don't play the victim. But I don't know. Assertiveness, another one. I feel like if you don't know what you want, it's going to be hard to assert what it is you want out of life. And again, like, I think playing the victim is all just being manipulated by the external world, or like the external world that you're perceiving issues in, or people that you're having problems with. Like, all that shit just comes down to, what do you want, and how can you assert that? Because like general feelings of like powerlessness, same thing. It's like, if you don't know what you want, or you don't know where you're going, or you don't know how to get what you want, and I think all the time it comes down to just get back to work. Either do the work or don't do it. Don't complain about the fact that you don't have what you want. If you're complaining about if you're complaining about the fact that you don't have what you want, it's because you're not doing it, and it's because you need to fucking get to work. Like, get your head in the trenches and work on something for 6 months and see where you're at. Like, again, with the channel, and I used to feel like I never had a creative output. I would join these bands with people and they would fall apart, and that's ultimately what I wanted to do for a long time, and now I've created this creative outlet for myself, with the podcast, with the channel, with Instagram stuff, with making music and going live with Jay. Like, it's huge for me, man. It's like super healthy for me. That's what I ultimately want to do, whether or not it's successful or not. Again, defining your own success. Check out that. I think that was 2 pods ago, episode 26. But yeah, lost my train of thought there for a second. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have what you want, get to work on it. Figure out some steps as to how you're gonna start working on it, and get to work. 2019 is gonna be a big year for me and the channel and everybody listening to this, and let's get to work and make some cool shit, create something awesome. That's really what it comes down to. If that's what you want to do, you're in the right place. You're listening to the right podcast. So, okay, what else? Feeling sorry for yourself. Again, it's a very toxic victim mentality in this whole situation, and situations in your life where you feel like you need to make a change. Everybody has shitty days, and I guess it's okay to feel sorry for yourself once in a while, but if that's like your main mode of transportation to going through the external world, like you're just, feel sorry for me, woe is me, that's just fucked. Like, get to work. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody owes you anything. Yeah, I mean, it's all cliche shit, but it's true. Like, feeling sorry for yourself is, again, a waste of energy. It comes back to the story I was saying about complaining, about this guy complaining about our job, you know? There is no try. Either do something or don't do it. If you're going to just sit there and feel sorry for yourself, you're stuck in the middle of the two options, which is nothing, which is a waste of time, which is you'll wake up 10 years from now and either you'll realize that you've been feeling sorry for yourself and you'll get to work, or you'll just, you know, forever be stuck and frozen in your life. So I would recommend just getting to work if you're feeling sorry for yourself. Fuck that shit. Nobody cares if you feel sorry for yourself. Nobody owes you shit. But the positive thing, I'm not meaning to sound negative. I'm hoping that this is more empowering than, you know, hitting a nerve with people. But maybe everybody's well adjusted that's listening to this. But the only solution is to get to work. Is either to do something or don't do it. If there's something you want to do, if there's some reason you feel sorry for yourself, like you didn't get to, you know, march in the Macy's Day Parade last year, and you know you're blaming it on your, you know, marching bandmates or you know, your college or some shit. I don't know where that came from. Just get to work. You can achieve that. But just sitting there wallowing in bullshit isn't going to achieve that. Comparing yourself to others, again, another victim, another card the victim plays. I think this is kind of a natural. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick. I think it's kind of a natural human thing people do, but again, comparing yourself to others is just a recipe for disaster. Don't run anybody else's race. This is, again, something I mentioned in pod 26 about success, defining your own definition of success. When it comes to having a strong, assertive sense and bringing the power back again, wrapping this all back together, comparing yourself to other people, like if you're aligning what you want to be doing with who you are and you know, taking responsibility for your actions and your thoughts and actions, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can use the energy to build other people up and you'll look at the world in a positive light. I know that's happened with me. Like as I've developed more of what I wanted to do, shedding off my old vocation, you know, starting this channel, starting all this stuff, doing this stuff, it's really made me realize like why I used to be so critical of other people and you know, try to be a perfectionist about stuff, and a lot of it came down to being really unhappy. There's no people who are well adjusted don't try to like break other people down, right? People who are well adjusted aren't like super critical of the things other people are doing. Most people are just happy that other people are pursuing the things that they want to do. If you come across somebody who's unhappy because you're pursuing something that you want to do, it's not because they think you're wrong or bad. It's just a projection of their own bullshit onto you because they're unhappy and they want to cut you down because you're going after what you want to go after. And you know what? The best way to deal with people like that is to just bury them and let history decide. You know, bury them in work. I don't mean bury them like take them out. I mean like bury them in work and let history decide, you know. Whether, you know, you doing the work that you did got you to where you were, and they're just going to be critical of it and just, you know, because you come across that shit all the time in social media, you know. Once in a while, you know, there's some haters out there and some really negative people. And I think at some time to time, we all question that and ask ourselves, well, how come this person has this, you know, and this is going to be another episode. I should actually write that down, showing up. But the world goes to the people who show up, you know, and the people that just want to like shit on people who are showing up are people that aren't doing what they want to be doing, really. Because, you know, now when I see somebody doing something they want to be doing, whether it's, you know, I always use like cars for some example, somebody building a car, somebody building a house, whatever it is, like I'm just happy for that person. If that's what they want to be doing, awesome. Do what you want to do, you know. But I don't see how you could have nothing but positivity for people once you've, aligned yourself with where you want to be and what you want to do. Like, it took me a long time to realize that, Um, it's just about learning to reflect others in a positive light, you know, because there's no point in being critical of things. And if you are critical of things, beyond a certain healthy amount of it, it's most likely because you're unhappy with something that's going on in your own life. What else? What else? Okay, so life as always lacking. So I took some of these from a site about like victimization and people being a victim of their own lives, or not a victim of their own lives. That was kind of what I said, but just people playing the victim. I'm sure you've come across people like this, and maybe you've been a person like this in situations. I know I have, but again, to reiterate, take the power back, and that's something I did in 2018. It changed my life. Like I always say with the channel, whether it disappeared tomorrow or not, like the things that I've learned from it they're priceless. It's crazy. Like, I don't know. I had a much better way of putting this before. I had this realization before I started doing this. It's kind of how these always start, and then I kind of lost it. But maybe it'll come back around. Maybe I'll remember it later or something. But I was just thinking how crazy it is that all the things that I changed in my life and all the work that I put into this and the work and showing up really has just changed my life. It's insane. Like I can't stress enough how important YouTube has been for my life. Like I said, and just not even for any of the traditional reasons of like, oh yeah, I'm like building a brand and building an audience and this shit. Like, fuck that. Like, at the end of the day, like the most important thing has been for me just showing up. If all this shit was private, unlisted, like a private journal, like I don't know, man. It still would have had the same life-changing amount. And honestly, I'm just thankful and grateful that people are listening to this and joining me on the journey and seeing where I was and where I'm going. And that's something I really want to spread to people, especially if you're feeling stuck or frozen or a victim of certain circumstances. Like, you can change your life. Like, I think I'm definitely a good example of that. Like, I made some really big changes, and I'm only really reflecting on them and realizing that right now as I'm doing this. It's pretty nuts, and if I can do it, I think anybody can. So that's really, I think the only difference is, right, with me and a lot of other people is that, or anybody wanting to do anything, it's like anybody can do it, but not many people will. And that's really, I don't know, the crux of the entire podcast, I guess. If you want to change your life, and if you want to do YouTube, if you want to go on a trip or something, it's like, I don't know, anybody can do it, but not many people will, if that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe going off the rails a little bit there. The last thing I want to say is, maybe I'll have to do more on this, but cutting people out of your life, I think is also important. Some people say that it's unhealthy, and that where you cut certain people out, there's a chance to grow, and I think that's true, and a chance to develop certain situations. But there's certain people though that are just really toxic people, negative D-bags that are just gonna fuck up your life if you keep them in your life, because you can't change the way that those people are. All you can hope to do is change who you are, or adjust your feelings and thoughts and control your thoughts and actions. Like, no matter what sort of attitude you have to the external world, there's certain things you just will not be able to change. And if you can't make it, you can't go around trying to make other people happy, because it's hard enough to try to make yourself happy. But I think with making yourself happy, again, and showing people you're doing what you want, in turn that makes other people happy, and that attracts other people to you, and attracts other people to the idea of, well, hey, maybe I can go after what I want to do. So I don't know. The video stopped there for a second. I guess my point is, in 2019, make sure you surround yourself with people who make you feel good. You are the combination of the 5 people you hang around with the most. And if you hang around with negative assholes, then that shit's gonna spread onto you and become your mode of life, right? And I don't. Maybe that's kind of harsh, but a big thing with where I worked, there were a lot of negative people, and if any of those people are listening to this, I really hope that you can make a positive change for your life or in the outlook of your life. Not meaning to throw any daggers or anything like that, but I had enough negativity in my life is really what it came down to. I think there comes a point when enough is enough, and it's time to take responsibility, and it's time to start doing things if you want to do them. If you don't, then don't. But just remember, there's no try. I'm not going to try to do a podcast, because if I tried to do a podcast, I wouldn't do one. I'm not going to try to go to somebody's show, because if I say I'm going to try to go to somebody's show, I'm not going to. Be assertive. Know the things that you want to do. If you want to do something, do it. If you don't, don't. And just don't be a victim of your own life. Don't be a victim of the external world, because really what it comes down to is you can control your thoughts and your actions, and once you align those things with what you want, 2019 is going to be your year, man, because 2018 was mine, and I'm excited for 2019. I'm excited for the future. For the first time in a long time, I can genuinely say I'm very excited for the future, and I'm excited that people get to join me on the journey, and I hope that no matter what place you are in your journey, maybe this is helpful, maybe this is stuff you already knew. I got a long way to go. I know that. That's what I've been realizing. It's crazy. I haven't even left the house yet. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm still getting ready, you know what I'm saying? So I'm excited about that. We're really excited about it. So I guess with that, take the power back, 2019. Do what you want to do, as always. Make sure you do something you want to do today. And show up. Just show up. Don't try to show up. Either show up or don't. That's it. It's crazy. It's crazy how simple this shit is, but I don't know. Maybe until you go through it, it doesn't make sense. But now it's starting to really click for me. And I'm really pumped. I'm really pumped. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll catch you on the flip-flop, fam. And like I said, make sure you do something you want to do today, all right?